Welcome to the Conquer Risk Podcast. My name is Manish Kata, and with me, original gangster Jeff Goodnow. How are you, sir?
I am doing pretty darn good. I am ready, heading back to Kansas. So I got my Kansas gear on, the Royals, the Jayhawks. Gotta rock the home state.
Yeah, we're both in the middle of a move. So after this, everything gets broken down and tossed into boxes.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, today we wanted to talk about something that keeps coming up, and that is what tools we use to run our RIA. And this comes from advisors, industry contacts. There's constant questions like, hey, what are you using for 401k or HR? Or how do you handle this or that? And it's valuable information because I do the same thing when I'm searching for stuff. I ask people, right? I ask my friends, I ask advisors, I ask contacts, and that's how you kind of crowdsource tools, and then you dive in and have that research. So we figured the other day we were talking about, what do we want to, talk about this week, and let's just go over some of the tools we use. We've done this a couple times, and things change, and let's just have a conversation about what we like and don't like, and kind of run through the gamut here, right? Are you good with that?
Yeah, sounds like a plan, man.
All right, what's up first?
Yeah, so let's hit some of the we're going to start with actually running the RIA, which of course was the genesis of what we started the podcast for in the first place. And so we thought, all right, let's deal with some of the executive operations, right? The things that sort of you have to have in place to even open the doors, so to speak. One of them, right? We have employees. We have to deal with payroll and shit like that. So, what are we using now in that space? And why is it that we've switched to that?
Yeah, so we use Gusto, which is a really good platform for payroll. And the cool thing about Gusto, it's self-serve onboarding for the most part. So it's kind of hands-off where I can run it in the background and allow employees to kind of enter information and onboard themselves. The other cool thing is they also do healthcare administrators, so they will act as the insurance agent and go find different plans for us and manage that whole thing. It's not without issues. All tech companies have some customer service things they're trying to solve, but essentially Gusto for healthcare as well as HR. And then recently, in terms of 401k, which kind of closes the circle on back office stuff, HR wise, has been Vestwell. Now we just started the onboarding process. It's been pretty smooth. A couple things we need to iron out, but they have a direct connection with Gusto, and it works really well in terms of having the payroll come out and management options as well, right? In addition to the Potomac, there's going to be other stuff.
Right.
So that's right. Kind of the trifecta of HR-ish stuff.
Yeah, well, so I purposely had this set up so that you could talk about Gusto, because the property that we own, we're going to build on is Gusta. And so every time I try and think about our HR thing, I'm always screwing it up. So I'll let you speak to that. Well, the next thing that happens along with payroll, right, is, again, at the business level, the executive operations is accounting, right? Somebody's got to figure out not just the payroll, but the accounting itself. You have to do reviews and understand where the dollars are going and where they're coming in. So what do we use in that space?
So yeah, you'll see a theme here about tools that work well with each other. And Xero Accounting is an Australian company. It's a competitor of QuickBooks. It's much more open and in terms of the code and how the software works, and that connects really well with Gusto. And so we use Xero for that. Other things that come to mind if you're talking about kind of accounting, back office, compliance kind of things. I'm the CCO. We use a company called RIA Registrar, I think out of Iowa, to help us on a consulting front. And then we have Stark & Stark out of New Jersey as corporate attorneys who help draft contracts and a lot of the legal work.
Yeah, and for clarity, Xero is actually spelled Xero, just for anybody who's listening or whatever, right? It's the English language, I swear, sometimes it's any wonder anybody can actually speak, because you throw marketing into the mix and it turns into a cluster in a heartbeat. All right, so there's a couple other things that have to be in place, right? I joked about opening the doors, but we don't have doors to open. So we have to have a phone system, right? So can you hit some of the tech stuff that is at the executive level, right, at the firm level? What are we using across the board for things like phone system or file servers and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, these are critical, right? When you think about a remote company, you don't have a file. We now have file servers, right? And you don't have a phone system anymore, or a phone server. So,
It's all
yeah,
digital.
we,
Cloud,
we went
baby.
we went with Zoom, and so what's interesting about Zoom is, yes, they when we serve multiple functions. They can have a chat function. We can have meetings. We use Zoom to meet with advisors and have webinars. Well, actually, we don't have webinars anymore, but we meet with advisors. And it's also our phone system. So we have the virtual PBX plugged into Zoom. So you can call the 888 number. It goes to welcome to Potomac, yada, 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 and you choose an extension, whatnot. And that's all built into Zoom. So we use one tool for all of our communications. And that has served us really well. And we switched over from Microsoft Teams a couple years ago. Our file servers with Dropbox, we were with Ignite. Dropbox just much better in terms of how it works with other companies, and we just initiated that. So hopefully the feedback has been good. But we use Dropbox for file server, and then for there's odds and ends. Like we have it for task management. We use Teamwork, which we've talked about on multiple podcasts. We really love them. That has I think has drastically changed our ability to work with each other in the organization.
Definitely helps keep a little sanity. Understanding what's going on.
I think that's. I mean, from the framework of running an RIA, those are the main basics, and let's dive into maybe some more details around the edges. But it's the framework's in place, right? Those are the main systems that we have to run the company.
Yeah, and it sounds funny. One of the things that frustrated the hell out of me when we were using Teams was the fact that, at least when we were using it, you couldn't do a three-way call. Like if two of you were, we were having an internal conversation to help an advisor, and then, okay, we're ready to actually call them. You couldn't add a third person, and that blows my mind. So Zoom has been super easy to work with all the way around. It's been a really great enhancement to our system, up and down, video, calls, etc.
Okay.
So.
Well, then let's talk about then your role in terms of advisor education and dealing with things. What are the couple tools that you're in all day long?
Yeah, well, I would say first and foremost, I'm in HubSpot all day long. Our team is, because the notes, understanding what you have communicated last with somebody, whether or not you have an idea, you're working with one advisor, and immediately, of course, it's just natural. You think of another advisor that would be a value add for, and you want to shoot them a quick soapbox message or something like that, and a reference to an article that we've written or a podcast that would be valuable for them. So,
well, just to clarify, HubSpot is our CRM system.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, so that's our CRM system. So that's where we keep all of the advisor name, info, etc., and be able to see what emails and make sure that we haven't already sent that to them from some other time. But that's a super valuable tool, and it really helps us with that construct. And likewise, to make sure that we know what's happening with the advisors. So anyway, that's probably the one that I'm in the most. Now, that's new.
Well, hang on a second. So everyone understands a CRM, but one of the things that we also use HubSpot for is the fact that it's also the email system. So there's not a separate Constant Contact or MailChimp or anything. It's actually the email system, and also any automation that we run. We pulled out a lot of the automation and workflows and leads and things like that. But any automations that are there, it's all run in HubSpot, including email. So just to clarify, go ahead.
Right. Well, and while we're on that, so the website, I actually want to throw this back to you. The website and landing pages, that's something that you actually have a little bit more background in. I help sort of structure some of the base content of where, hey, here are some targets. We're had a meeting this morning, right? Working on who we want to reach out to as far as, might find interest and value, and therefore we need landing pages, right? So can you speak to that? What are we using?
Yeah, so everything used to be made in HubSpot, and we pull that out, and we use WordPress for everything. Christopher, who's our director of marketing, loves WordPress and the functionality there. So everything is built in WordPress in terms of our website and landing pages, and then any form in that landing page is a HubSpot form that then sends that person into HubSpot for you and your team to obviously do their follow-ups and reach outs and whatnot. So that's the main driver for the website.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing that comes into play, which my first experience, this is a new one for us. My first experience was with StreamYard, was a video tool to do the Potomac Couch version 2. I was on the second episode, of course, making fun of you, trying to get the other team to make fun of you. But StreamYard has been pretty helpful. I know you and Dan use it for Who Charted. That's a pretty cool tool. From a video recording standpoint, it's much more flexible in sort of eliminating some of the post-production work that needs to go on when you want to insert a video. You guys do Who Charted. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit and how that has come into play.
Traditionally, people will record, listen, I think people are really cheap sometimes when it comes to this, and it ends up being more expensive in the long run because you'll record maybe a tool that you have, like a Zoom meeting, and you share your screen and that kind of stuff. If you take it a step further and use a tool like StreamYard, it's meant for live streaming, but you don't actually have to go live, and you can record it and have someone put up images and charts and graphs, whatever you want, and then you don't have to do anything in post. You don't have to add anything in post-production. It's all right there. Versus what we're doing right now, you're recording, I'm recording, and then we have a team that combines this in post-production. So for advisors who are looking for a very simple way to put out content without a large post-production team, StreamYard is very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. The funny thing is, it's a little different when you have multiple people in remote locations doing it. That was the funny part for us. Christopher forgot that not everybody is using Apple, right? There's only a couple of folks using Macs. That's primarily the marketing team. But so that was an interesting little play as we got started, but we worked through that. So especially when you're doing stuff yourself, you want yourself and be able to insert screenshots and those sorts of things. StreamYard's pretty cool. Anything that you want to add about the video outreach and how that has come into play? Because we've talked about, I'm going to add something here first. We've talked about Soapbox, which is a Wistia product. That's what my team uses, the advisor education team, as far as being able to communicate, putting a small video in an email, and sending a video message. But can you speak to Wistia on a higher level, the firm level?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing more than a video storage tool. We used to use it to store all our videos, and then we transitioned, everything to YouTube. So if you have corporate videos and things you don't want on YouTube, Wistia can do that for you. But at this point, we're mostly using it for Soapbox to send out one-to-one messages and also training. And so we're doing training on two levels. We create a Soapbox for things you want to explain to a staff member, and then we also started recording our meetings in Zoom as well. And so it's just it's a browser extension tool that allows you to quickly put something together and send it out. It's not meant for any deep post-production or changes, and you guys use it more than anything. So
yep. All right, so that I think pretty well takes care of the marketing end and some of the advisor education end and what we're using on a day-to-day basis in that space. But there's a whole nother level. One of our sort of chain of podcasts is your communication to advisors about what it is that's going on, what systems you're using, what we're seeing in the marketplace, et cetera. And so can you speak to some of those? I mean, what do we use as far as trading and coding systems?
Yeah, I think the research side is obviously different from the execution. So on the research and coding side, we use AmiBroker, which is a very popular software tool for trading. It's based on AFL code language. We also use a tool that Dan introduced called Optuma, which is an Australian company as well. And both of those tools help us in terms of charting, programming, and building indicators. And then, believe it or not, data comes from with separate sources, right? So we use data from Y-Charts, a company called Norgate, which is also an Australian company, and a company called Fast Track. And so those three sources we use mainly to pump data into our trading systems, which then obviously generate code and buy-sell signals and whatnot. And that's the main engine behind the money management process.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So I think that the next sort of big elephant in the room is when you run an RIA. I mean, we're a third-party manager, right? Let's be clear about that. So that may be a little bit different than an individual advisor. But from an RIA standpoint, what systems do we use for billing, reporting, trading, those kinds of things when it comes to operations? So that's what we consider all of those to be part of operations.
Yeah, and that and proposals and stuff like that, and which I'll pass back to you. Essentially, we use Orion Advisor services for everything. We've been with them since I think 2007. It's been a long-term relationship. So they're a great engine. They do all of the back office work in terms of reconciliation, trading, billing, reporting, etc. We also offer to our advisors the use of the Orion planning tool, formerly Advisor, where they can do account aggregation and stuff like that. What we are building right now is a custom user interface on top of Orion. So we're going to take our Orion data and feed it into this custom user interface. And it's no shade at Orion and their capabilities. We wanted more control on the front end. So when our advisors log in, we wanted more control in what data we showed them and how they can work with the system. And look, we just felt that we had to build this custom system. And that's going to circle back around to what you're using in terms of a proposal tool, and it's all going to make sense hopefully by the time our conference comes in terms of what our plans are. So what and I talked about this a couple weeks ago in terms of proposal, but why don't you remind the audience?
Yeah, so absolutely. So from a proposal tool, this is something that it's kind of funny as we've flipped a number of times, or in the infamous words of Ross Geller on Friends, pivot. We've gone from one to another, but we really came back to, no, you're supposed to say for sake, man. I mean, that's your go-to move, right? So anyway, so we have gone back to hidden levers, and that's pretty cool because it allows us to do two real neat things right now, and one more coming forward. One is the risk profile. That's just a quick take. I mean, you can type in IBM and, boom, out spits a whole bunch of data about it in a really sort of client-friendly way. Not Morningstar is they have a tool that's pretty decent, but it's very sort of clinical. Hidden Levers has done theirs from a graphical sense. I mean, I think it's just more client-friendly. And of course, they have a focus on max drawdown, and as a risk management firm, that makes a lot of sense for us. The next piece is they have a risk proposal tool, and that sort of takes it a whole nother level and gives you even more detail. It takes a little bit longer to run, but again, it's pretty easy to use. And the step that's coming forward, as you mentioned, the UI, we're going to get to the point where we can do the proposal, and that has the dollar figures in it. And then if you want to move forward, you can just slide that right into the account paperwork documentation process for DocuSign and so forth, which is pretty neat when you think about it, right? Just go literally from client entry prospect to, let's go ahead and become a client, and away we go. Nobody has to sign anything in hard copy. So
okay, what else? Anything else come to mind that we didn't? I mean, obviously there's hardware, there's software, I think we're just going to compile a list and maybe a running list and just put it on the website for people to poke around.
Yeah, there's enough here probably rather than just a bunch of show notes. Probably ought to just stick this in a short blog post and post it. But anyway, I think that really does it. The only other caveat I would add is the financial planning tool is pretty sweet. We were excited when we were able to grab that from the Orion system and be able to utilize that. And we're getting good feedback from the advisors that are using that as part of our Union UMA. So pretty neat stuff.
Cool. All right, that'll wrap it up. What kind of recommendations do you have?
Yep. Recommendations. All right, I'm gonna shoot one link in the show notes, and that's just the CNN version. However, I highly recommend learning about Black Wall Street. That's the short version, right? Education about Black Wall Street. We just hit the 100th anniversary of this massacre. And if right now you're scratching your head going, what in the hell is he talking about? All the more reason you need to dive in. Life's a learning opportunity. I've been to Dachau. I've been concentration camps. I've been to Tulsa many times and never had any clue. And that was one of the big differences I saw. When I went to Germany, they have a lot of references to some of the mistakes that have been made in the past. You go to Tulsa, I didn't see anything. I guess they got a couple signs out now. It's becoming more prominent, so that's a good thing. We've got to learn from some of the stupidity that mistakes we've done in the past. And there's a lot of great shows. CNN, OWN has a series. History Channel just came out with one. So there you go. Beautiful.
All right, I'm going to give Potomac Couch a lot of fodder on this one, but whatever. Listen, I love rom-coms, not just movies, but the actual shows themselves, to the point where my wife is always wondering why I keep watching these shows. So this one is, I think, on Netflix called The Beauty and the Baker. Look, it's entertaining if you like that kind of stuff. I think, look, one season in, I thought it was a great show. Definitely worth watching.
So you said it's The Beauty and the Baker?
Yeah, The Beauty and the Baker.
All right.
Listen,
No,
it's just about it's about a supermodel. It's about a supermodel who falls in love with a baker from Little Havana in Miami, and so
all right,
it's a rom-com, dude.
Yeah.
You either like it or you don't.
All right, hey, I'm game. All right. On that note, I want to say something here. We always want to thank our viewers, our listeners, absolutely our subscribers. Knowing how many subscribers we have versus how many viewers we have, there's an awful lot of people that haven't hit that cute little subscribe button. So we certainly hope that you do and continue to enjoy the fun and education that we try and put together here from Potomac.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.